In front of us, we have the RYOBI 40-volt Sledge-O-Matic. It slices, it dices, it'll pump your tire up if it's got a flat. No, I'm just kidding. This is the RYOBI 40-volt leaf blower plus. Anyway, let's get to the nitty-gritty. This is the RYOBI RY404015 or the RY404150VNM, which would be the 40-volt blower vacuum mulcher kit with everything you see here, plus a couple of batteries and a charger and a bagger and so forth. We're going to get to that right now. Let's dive in and look at the details of this thing. And I'm telling you, we were impressed. We've got the RYOBI 40-volt HP leaf blower vacuum and mulcher. It's the RY404150, I think VNM, that comes in the kit with the two 4 amp hour 40-volt batteries and the charger, the harness, everything you see here, mulching bag, all that as a kit. I believe you can also get this as a bare tool, which would be less the batteries and the chargers, but I think the price is very close, so it definitely makes more sense to get the kit. We'll go over pricing here in a few moments, but let's go over what we're getting here. It's not just a leaf blower and a leaf vacuum, it's also going to mulch these leaves. We have a bag here and a bag system, and supposedly this is supposed to hold like 20 times more than just leaves. So in other words, it mulches it up, so you're getting a lot more capacity here by it mulching the leaves. Now, you're asking, well, how does it do that? Does it actually pass through the impeller fan? And yes, it actually does. And we have not used this a bit, so as we film, you're going to see how this thing works just as we are. So we have not used this unit yet. Now, you can change this out from being a blower to a vacuum. You can use, obviously, this tip for your blowing, and then change the tip out for this, which is a lot larger mouth here for the actual vacuuming. You're getting 600 CFM and 100 mile per hour. Now, the 100 mile per hour is obviously going to be on the smaller tip, and then with the larger opening, you're going to get the 600 CFM. Now, here's a harness, so if you're bagging things like that, it's going to get a lot heavier, so you can use that harness, and it will actually clip right onto the tool very easily. And so right here on the back are these rings where you can clip this on, and it also has a hook on either side of the harness, which is very nice. So whether you want it on your left side or your right side, and you have some nice padded straps and a nice plastic backing to support on the back side. Let's move the batteries and chargers out of the way, and we'll move the tip out of the way as well. Now, different than your typical leaf blower or handheld leaf blower, usually you would have under the handle here a trigger. We don't have a trigger on this leaf blower vacuum. We actually have a speed dial here, and it has a low, obviously off, a low, a medium, and a high. Now, they claim that this is variable speed, so I'm assuming that I can actually adjust in between these speeds as well, although there are detents that you can hear them kind of click into place. So there's definitely kind of positive detents on those 3 speeds, but again, they claim that it's variable speed, and we'll check that here in just one moment, but I would assume most of the time you're going to have it on high anyway. This handle here can remain forward if you're just holding it as a blower, but push this button here, and it's going to have a detent that's going to lock it in place there, and push it on up and lock it in place right here. So a couple of different spaces, actually 3 different spaces that you can adjust that to, and a fourth, which will be locked all the way down, that again, you don't need it once you're just blowing, but if you're vacuuming, you need that additional handle. You can adjust that. And the cool thing about it is they thought about it with a battery. So if I put a battery in there, that is still clearing that battery. Now, I'm sure that if I went to a 6 amp hour or larger, I'm not going to be able to, use that handle to go over the top of that. I'd have to have it up before I put the battery in, because it would not clear right there. So let's just try it now with an 8 amp hour battery. Again, obviously not going to be able to use that. Now, I can put this all the way up and then put the battery in. So no problem there. I just wouldn't be able to fold it down all the way out of the way or have it down and raise it back up. So if you're wanting to use a larger battery, then that's what you're going to have to contend with. Not a huge deal. Now, there's a 6 amp hour. So again, it will work in there. You just can't have it all the way down and be able to put that battery in or take it out and then be able to move the handle. If we look here on the tool, we see a dial here. Now this dial, it says lift to rotate. So right now it's in the lock position, locking it into blower. Lift it and turn it 180 degrees and it would lock it into the vacuum. However, when you lift and rotate, it actually pushes off this back section here. So let's lay this down and you'll see, watch this gap right here as I lift and rotate to the middle. So that's what you do. You basically lift and rotate to the middle. So you see this big gap here and you see this is kind of barely hanging on. This now slides off. So you see these little tabs right here, these little dowels on the top and on the bottom of this slide in and lock into this mechanism right here. And then that pulls it in when we rotate it. And so then once we pull that off, the bagging system is going to hook in the same way. Slide this in to right there. And then as I turn to blower, you see it's going to pull that in and lock it into place. So now our vacuum bag is locked into place, and then the bag wraps around the bottom, and with this hook right here, little spring-loaded hook, clips in right there, and we're ready to go. So very easy to do that. This knob is not exactly, a breeze to turn. I mean, I shouldn't say it's hard. It's not. There is some resistance there, and you just kind of got to get used to turning it to the middle, pulling everything off, putting the new thing on, and then turning it to where you want it. So again, it's not cumbersome. It's not hard to do. It's just not really, really easy to do. It's not really slick and silk. I mean, there is, you feel some resistance, put it that way. So again, I'm gonna pull it up, turn to the middle, and that's gonna push that off the back. And then I can just slide this off, unhook my bag, put this back on and turn it and good to go. But I'm going to go ahead and leave this off. We're going to take a look at the back side. Now this is pretty interesting here. Right now I have it set in the middle, so it's where you can release and install the rear half for either blowing or vacuum. You'll see that we have a metal segment here of the blower housing, and the upper part is some type of plastic. And then when I turn this and rotate it, so this is on the vacuum side now. So here we have an impeller fan here, and if you look all the way through there, you can probably see the other impeller fan as well on the other side. So there is 2 impeller fans, and they counter rotate. So again, I'm set on vacuum. So what's coming through here is the leaves are coming in through the actual tube at the front, coming through the body of the blower, and coming through these impeller blades, and those leaves are going to be chopped up. Now this is the second blade to encounter those leaves coming through. Let me turn it around to blower and we'll see. So now I've got it on blower, and this would be the trailing blade, but obviously as vacuum, this would be on the front side and encountering those blades or encountering those leaves first. And this is what's going to be the mulching. In fact, this would be the actually leading edge of the blade if it were turned around. So you see we have a small, like a metal impeller here, backed up by a plastic impeller. So the leading edge is going to be metal here. That's going to be the primary chopping of the leaves after or as they pass through the blower or as they pass through the vacuum. So this is what's doing your chopping here. I'm going to take our little RYOBI light here and turn this on. So now we can get a better look at seeing those opposing impeller blades or opposing turning, so they counter rotate one another. So obviously the brushless motor is in the middle, and one rotates one way and one rotates the other. Put a battery in and see if this thing will turn on. No, it doesn't look like it's going to let me power this up with the fan in this position, which I assumed it wouldn't. That wouldn't be a very safe thing to do. There's probably some type of limit switch in here that's letting it know whether you're locked in or not. Now here on the front side, it's pretty self-explanatory here. This is going to be your main tube for blowing and for vacuuming, and it's just going to slide in and lock into place. Little lift tab here you can push to pull that off, and then the same thing's going to happen on the front up here to exchange out your tip. So if you're blowing, you're going to use the tip reducer here to increase that speed, and you can see that it's just going to lock into place on those tabs right there to take that off, lift that up, and slide it out. Same way with the vacuum tip, going to slide on and lock over those tabs. So the first thing we're going to do is just test it in the blower mode. So you can see I've just got the typical back half on and got my reduced tip on the front. It's going to give us that 100 mile per hour speed, and we're probably going to run this on high unless I'm telling you it's low. Going to see how well it just does on the leaf blowing. I can tell you it does a very decent job at blowing these. No, it's not the most high-powered blower, but I didn't expect it to be. But it definitely will move these dry, dead leaves around to where I want them. And actually running it on low like that gives me some better controllability, or some better control over where I want these. So that's running it on low, and I can kind of position these where I want them. Okay, that's with just a couple of minutes of blowing, and we've got a decent pile. Now what I want to do, I don't want to just go into vacuum mode. I'm going to take our trash can, fill it up with our leaves. So that's near full right now. So we've definitely got a full trash can. It is heaping up on the top. Now I didn't press it down. I shook it a little bit, but here we'll shake it a little more. But I didn't want to press it. But I've got an honest full trash can of leaves. So let's change this over to vacuum. We'll leave this for a second. Change this over to vacuum, and then we'll come back and see if we can bag that entire trash can. All right, now let's quickly change this over to vacuum. We'll do this real time. So we turn this to the middle, pull this back off. Then we're going to take this and slide it on part way. There we go. And now we're going to turn it to vacuum. And that's going to lock that in. Lay this over. Clip our bag on. Remove our tip. Put our broad tip on there. Lock into place. Raise up our handle. I'm not going to put on the harness right now. I'm going to see how well I can do this, see if this thing gets heavy with the bag full or with sucking up all those leaves. Now let's go and try this out. All right, so here's our vacuum, and here's our full trash can. Let's go ahead and dump these out. Now I'm going to go straight to high and see how well we can pick these up. Okay, so a couple of things. Number one, you saw it actually got stuck to the ground, so it's definitely pulling some vacuum. The other thing is you can see our leaves are not void of moss, small twigs, things like that, and I'm hearing it slow down a little when it picks those up, but not tremendously. Okay, whatever it grabbed, didn't like it for a few seconds there, but it definitely passed it through. I must say, I'm pretty impressed so far. We picked up this entire contents of this trash can. It's in this bag right now. I'm just gonna see, just the idea of if it will, let me detach it here. If we can get this entire contents in this 5-gallon bucket. So it's got 2 zippers here. I'll try to spill as little as possible. A little more than the 5 gallons. Right at it. So we've taken the contents of this entire trash can and now put it in a 5-gallon bucket. I don't know if that's 20 times, but that's still an impressive amount that we've condensed that down. And it's done a pretty good job of mulching. And I thought for sure that our moss would actually stop that. And so the twigs nor the moss did anything to it, and it passed it right through. So you can see this. I mean, it's chopped it up very, very fine. So you can see here, we have not touched this since we vacuumed all the leaves, and really very little residual hanging out in the blower housing here. Nothing caught on this blade. If I turn it around, so we'll see the leading edge of the mulching. So you see we have a little bit of moss caught right there on the threaded portion of the shaft, but nothing in here. I thought for sure that we would have tons of this going on around the actual blade there. I will say that this, as we see here, will probably grow over time, and probably every now and then you'll have to clean that off, but that's not unexpected at all, and I wouldn't count that against that whatsoever. You're going to see this and probably want to come in here and look at it from time to time anyway, but very impressed that this little blade right here was able to do all the crunching and dicing and everything else of, as I mentioned, sticks, moss, leaves, everything falling from oak trees was on that ground. We did not save anything. We didn't filter anything out. As I mentioned in the beginning, we were very impressed with the vacuum and the mulching side of this blower vacuum. The blower was absolutely fine as well. It's not going to be as powerful as your most powerful RYOBI handheld blower or any other handheld blower that's just a dedicated blower, and that's to expect, right? You're using a tool that's now got kind of multifaceted. You don't expect it to have any, groundbreaking at one side or the other. It'd be kind of tough to do, or they'd just kind of mop up the market. Anyway, my point is it has plenty of power for both, and we were impressed with the mulching capability of how well it did that and how well it actually pulled a vacuum, and it would actually suck this snout to the ground if you weren't careful. So this would be great for like cleaning up flower beds, things like that, where you may not want to rake out all the mulch, but you could pull out all the light leaves, and you're definitely reducing your capacity from where leaves without them being crunched up are going to take a large area. And we condensed a full, I don't know, was that a 50-gallon trash can at least? It's not a 100-gallon, but still, it's a large trash can, and we put it in a 5-gallon bucket. So is that 20 times as much? I don't know. I'm not going to go there and make that calculation, but I would say at least 10 that we reduced that size down to this. Now, this is where you need to buckle your seatbelts, because when we talk about price, it's not a cheap tool whatsoever. Now, it's very versatile. And by the way, I did not have to wear the harness. This is a very nice harness. I did not have to wear it at all. I could easily carry that. Someone else, you may want to put a harness on, or maybe you're, doing this all day and filling up, multiple trash cans full. You may want to wear that harness, but I just wanted to let you know, even with a full bag, was not hard to carry and still very balanced, especially with the additional handle here. So easy to maneuver even without that harness. Price on this for the kit, so the RY404150VNM, which comes with the blower / vacuum / mulcher, and 2 of the 4 amp hour 40 volt batteries, and the charger, the bagger, the harness, and everything you see here. That's going to run $469. Now, warranty on this 3 years on the battery, 5 years on the tool. So you're getting a 5-year warranty on this to cover it if anything should happen. But again, it is $469. That's not a small bite to chew. I think you can buy it as a bare tool, but I believe it's right at $400, three something, maybe $329, $369. So I definitely say it's worth it if you're in this ball game to buy this, to buy it to get your 2 4-amp-hour batteries and the charger. And that's a nice charger as well. It's not one of their slow chargers. So check it out. We'll have a link in the description. It's available now at the Home Depot or on homedepot.com. Also keep track of us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and even TikTok. And if you don't mind, would you hit that like and subscribe button if you haven't done so already? And by the way, if you hated our video, then give us a thumbs down. But would you let us know in the comments why? Have a great day and keep smiling.